All right. So after all of that work, going from not at all considering change to research and resource, try and figure out what you would do if you were going to change, getting stalled in that conviction phase where you know you need to change, but you're just not sure what to do yet, or you're just not ready to do it yet, I guess. Then finally we get to the action phase. Now, in the action phase, once your client is here, it's important to remember that probably it's not going to be that they get started, they love the whole process, and it's the most wonderful thing that they've ever decided to do. Change is hard. And so it takes time to begin experiencing the benefits of change even after you've made the changes that you want to make. So, you've probably had the experience of you haven't been working out, and then you start working out again and you get sore. Or, you wake up in the morning and it's dark and you don't want to go for a run. Or, you crave those old foods that you used to eat, and the new foods don't taste as good or aren't as satisfying. Relationships that you know are bad for you, and you let them go, but then you miss the people. Even though you know that it was a toxic relationship, or a job that you left behind that you know is wrong for you, but you miss the security or the familiarity of it. There's all kinds of changes that people make, and that they know it's the right thing to do, but it doesn't feel good right away. Okay, so this is to be expected. This is where you as the coach come in. You can encourage them when it's tough to keep moving towards their goals, remind them of why they're making this change, help them envision what life will be like once they make the change, and checking in with them to see does this still seem worth it to you? Does the thing that you're hoping to move towards and attain, is that going to be worth it in the end? And if that thing is consistent with their values as a person, their beliefs as a person, then the answer is going to be yes. And they just need to be reminded of that from time to time. You can validate that it's difficult, and you can just be their cheerleader to help them make it through just one more week. So when it comes to rewiring your brain's reward system, the pleasure system in your brain, it can take a while for those feel-good chemicals to become associated with the new behaviors that your client is doing. So it could be, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, sometimes as long as a year. Depends upon how far down the rabbit hole they went with the unhealthy behavior, especially in the case of something like addiction. But even after really, a long time of doing unhealthy things, once they hit a year at most, they should start experiencing the benefits of the new behavior again, and they will start to feel good. Life will start to be fresh and new again, and they will find that they just don't need those old behaviors anymore, those old relationships, those old substances. They will have moved on by then. Now, a year is a long time, and that is why you as a coach can play such a pivotal role in their transformation process. But you don't want to be the only one who's helping them with this transformation process. You want to be plugging them into resources, connecting them with friends, groups, books, podcasts, websites, any spiritual activities, anything that will help sustain them and support them as they make it through this phase of change. Now, it is possible that despite all your encouragement, despite all your support, despite all the resources that you help them connect to, they may decide at some point that they do not want to continue making this change. That is called relapse in the addictions world. But we relapse into old behaviors all the time. Okay. Here's the thing about relapse. It's actually a part of the change process. If you remember, we talked about intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Well, the thing about the change process is that at each phase of change, moving from not considering change to considering change, etc., all the way up through action, the client has to find intrinsic motivation to move from one stage to the next successfully and sustainably. In other words, it has to be something about their beliefs, their goals, and their values that move them through each phase of change. If there's an extrinsic motivator in there moving them instead of an intrinsic motivator, then they're likely to relapse back to that phase of change that they didn't move through with the proper intrinsic motivation. Okay? So, if they relapse, and it's likely that they will relapse back to the phase of change where they didn't have the proper intrinsic motivation. All right? Now, I will talk about that in the next video, which is all about adjustment. That is step 6 in the change process. And we will tackle this subject in full in that video. So I will see you there.